Hey everybody, and welcome back to A Soulful Revolution. This is a interlude moment between the seasons. We wrapped up season 4 in 2025. It's now 2026. It is a new year. It feels like it's already been a year, a weekend. And we will be starting a new season, recording some incredible guests starting in a few weeks' time. So we wanted to take a moment to be able to pause, reflect back on the conversations that we had the privilege of enjoying with incredible guests in season 4, and then to spend some time in conversation about what's been going on in our lives and the world since then, and to look forward to the season that is coming up ahead. So Hannah is here with me.
Hi.
Hi, Hannah. And then we are also lucky to be joined by our incredible editor and producer, Stephanie Whitehouse. Hey, Steph.
Hey everybody, nice to see you in the flesh, in the live part of this.
Yay!
Yeah, no longer just listening to 4 retakes in a row of every episode. Like, we actually get to be here in the room with you virtually. So yeah, glad to be here together, all 3 of us. It's really a delight. I wanted to see if we could kick off with some check-in about what's been going on in our lives, in the world, and we'll see where it takes us.
I will go first, everybody. Happy New Year. Last year felt like the longest century ever, and I'm glad to be on the 8th day on the other side of it. For me personally, this year has just been a massive point of change and transition, personally and also like physically. I moved like 2 times this year, so
Oof.
that's been hard but very interesting. And I think that in the world right now is very insanely chaotic, and just being rooted in creative practice and the rhythm and ebb and flow, and a lot of it is editing this podcast, is like having a creative practice every week that is grounding, and then getting to listen to you guys has been great. um,
Oh, that's
yeah,
so lovely. I'm glad to hear that.
it's like a bunch of sheeps running in the field, and I'm like trying to lasso them all together, and
That
definitely
doesn't sound calming, Steph. That sounds so stressful.
but it's like okay, well, at least I have like a lasso and the sheep are like still in my field, so that's
Yes.
that's about where my
Love
brain
it.
is at. But yeah, I would love to hear about where y'all are.
What I love about Stephanie, what you said is it sounds like you're taking stock of both the reality around you and also what is still yours to control, right? Like,
Hmm.
whoa, those sheeps are going. Sheeps?
Hmm.
Sheep? I don't know that's indicative of my mental state where
Yeah.
chaos and confusion are constant companions, right? And so finding the ways to stay grounded, finding the people with whom I want to share my time and my thoughts, people who respect me, people who respect the work that I believe in, like those are the places I want to be. And not because they're self serving, but because I feel so deeply and urgently about making a difference in this world. And I'm thankful to have been invited to be a part of this podcast in this way, primarily because it is so easy to lose hope and
Yeah.
to look at the world around us and say, what can we even do? And so, as I've revisited several of the conversations we've had over this last season, I am so inspired by how hopeful people's words are and people's lives are. I'm humbled and honored to just be a small part in that. I don't know. I'm still new, maybe to many podcast listeners in some way, though I say a lot. I've made an imprint. But I am, to quote my favorite poet, Lucille Clifton, I am not done yet.
Mm.
Yes, that's
Um,
right.
and so surveying at this turning point, right, from year to year, from liturgical season to liturgical season, I'm more curious about myself and who I'm called to be and what work is mine to do, right? What is my lasso? Who are my sheep? So that's where I'm at right now. Lauren, what about you?
That question of who am I and what's mine to do is the question that I've been ruminating on, just continuing to let marinate over these last few weeks as we're turning the corner into 2026. And it's been especially hammered in for me over the last 24 hours since Renee Good was murdered by ICE in Minneapolis. I was in Charlottesville, Virginia, back in 2017 as part of the counter protest that took place. The Unite the Right rally was going on, and these white supremacists came and invaded Charlottesville and were trying to preserve a statue of a Confederate that was there. And there was this group of clergy that showed up, and I was a seminarian at the time and drove down 3 hours with my buddy Pete. I've actually told the story in the episode with Pete Nunley a couple years ago, or year or so ago. And we were driving away from Charlottesville when Heather Heyer was hit by a neo-Nazi in his car. And we were seeing Twitter blowing up with that news. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sitting today in the aftermath of yesterday's white supremacist, patriarchal, capitalist violence of this woman who was being a good neighbor and was shot because of it. Who was acting as a legal observer and was killed because of her solidarity. I'm sitting here remembering the events of 2017 and the way that I felt, the grief and the rage that I felt, and also remembering the sense naively at the time that I had that things would change, that moment would be a turning point, and that people wouldn't tolerate not only the events in Charlottesville and Heather's murder, but also the reaction of the president, which was to celebrate the white supremacists. And so this time I wasn't surprised by his reaction. And I'm sitting in the deep sense of solidarity that has emerged in Minneapolis and around the country and around the world, seeing the way that people around the world are responding in horror to what's happened. And how this is just a glimpse of, this is a public glimpse of the horrors that are unfolding behind closed doors of detention centers. As we know that at least 32 people have died in ICE custody during this last year. And so I'm holding all of that and I'm wondering about my role in this work. And there is a big part of me that just wants to run out into the streets and rage and scream. And I hope I'll have some opportunity to do that. I hope to make that happen. And I'm in a different season of life than I was in 2017, where I didn't have children. I didn't have as many responsibilities in terms of the communities that I didn't have communities to which I was responsible as a leader to do the work of maintaining those and raising up leaders and empowering other people to go out and raise their voices in the streets and do other forms of dissidence. And so I'm sitting with the discomfort of what my body wants to do reactively and what I know to be my role in this moment, which is a long-term, slower paced, steady stream of provocation and of love and of nurture of those who are continually being targeted and of those who are putting their lives on the line in solidarity. And I had a friend say to me just today, Lauren, no one else can write your book. No one else can mother your children.
Ooh.
And so I think I'm going to print that in big letters on the whiteboard that's right here in front of my face on my desk, especially because I have a book deadline over the next 6 months, that no one else can write my book. And there are other people who can show up and protest, and that doesn't make it an inconsequential role to play. It's a vital role to play, but it doesn't have to be my role right now. That's what I'm sitting with at this moment.
It might sound silly to make this reference, so forgive me. Just go with me. We're going on a journey. Over the break with my 2 children, I watched the entire series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Don't know if you all are familiar with that.
Good job. Proud mother moment.
Obsessed.
Good job.
Well, proud children moment because I introduced my children to it and then did not watch it all with them. And they, after having finished it, were like, no, we all have to watch this together. And so, Lauren, I want to say to you that like there is a story arc in Avatar that I have sat with, and it is here's the briefest of brief explanations. This is a world in which there are 4 different types of tribes, and each of them have a relationship called bending, where they are in charge of or capable of affecting an element: water, air, earth, and fire. And so the firebenders, fire, there's what this one character, Zuko, and he's destructive, and his power to control fire comes from anger and rage. And there is a whole conversation and subsequent narrative about rage actually as energy, firebending as harnessing your unique energy and using it, which can be used destructively, which can be fueled completely by anger and rage, or which can be the deepest concentration of effort, concern, intention, sincerity, and from that there is a production that is even like more intense than firebending. And so I commend to you that show and certainly that metaphor, because those of us for whom rage seems to be a secondary or primary disposition, I count myself among those, like that is holy rage, and we cannot stay there. It will consume us.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to read your book. We need it. We need you, and we need your voice in this.
Thank you, friend. That encourages me.
It's also, it's a scary time, and that is real. I'm reminded of our conversation with Hannah and Mike about the destruction of weapons of war, and that those of us with a certain amount of privilege will have to spend it. We should spend it. And we don't talk a lot about what it might cost us. And I sat in prayer last night for Renee Good, who is a mother, who was a mother, who was just about my age, and who occupied a position that I often occupy. I have confronted Border Patrol and ICE agents in defense of people. I have, this is not to my credit, but like I now have an additional stake in this, knowing that the next time I step into that space, it might cost me my life. And to your point, Lauren, that is but a fraction of the fear that our immigrant, migrant, and asylum-seeking siblings are feeling regularly, regardless of immigration status in this country, regardless of previous security. This is an unsettling time, and we should be disturbed.
Yeah.
It's a heavy time.
As you say that, the disturbance, I'm reminded of the conversation that we had with Robert Munson about softness. And what does it look like to offer ourselves tenderness and care in this season of so much sharpness and violence and destruction and crushing anxiety and despair. How can we offer ourselves that care free of guilt or shame, knowing that we are worthy of that? And it's not the same as, the wellness culture, self-care, go get your nails done and go drink your smoothies. It's the soul care. It's the deep soul care. Not that there's anything wrong with nails and smoothies.
I love nails and
enjoy
smoothies.
Those things. Not to be down on those things. But yeah, the idea of the deep soul tending that is required in order to keep showing up. And that we owe, certainly that I believe I owe it to my siblings of color and to others who are, to the LGBTQ community, to Indigenous siblings, to all those who are being directly targeted, to trans siblings right now, especially who the Lemkin Institute just this last week released a report. This is the institute that studies genocide. Released a report saying we are in the initial phases of genocide toward trans people in this country. And so I owe it to my beloved siblings who are consistently more directly in the line of fire to care for my soul with tenderness so that I have the capacity to continue to show up with tenderness and not simply reactivity. And that my rage can come from a place of love and like strategic, be directed strategically, and not end up being misdirected toward myself or other people who are being toward people being harmed. Because I think that's the liability of not doing that work of tenderness is that the rage has to go somewhere. And if we're not being tender toward ourselves and finding places to tend toward the rage, and allow it to land in a soft place, it's gonna come out sideways. So that's part of what I'm sitting with too. But
That reminds me, Lauren, of one of the refrains that I have come back to several times since our interview with Dr. Tamisha Tyler, where she said one of her favorite things to say right now is, I don't know, right? Like,
yes,
I want the answers and I want things to be better and I want to be a part of that. How? I don't know. How is this all going to end? I don't know. There is such a sacred discipline, as Dr. Tyler spoke so beautifully about. And again, I love Octavia Butler, so that was going to be ripe fruit for me anyway. But I have not stopped thinking about the spaces where we're able to say, I don't know, are spaces where the spirit can come in and offer guidance, offer solidarity and community, where things that were not previously known or possible become better understood and become possible. Like that growth happens within and among us. And I believe in that so strongly. Even when I can't see it, like even when it seems like a distant reality, I don't have to know that to believe that.
yeah. Steph, I'm curious for you. What were some of the moments of resonance for you this season, or perhaps like what was your favorite moment this season? If that's even, it's not really a fair question to ask.
Or a quote.
Wow.
I'm a quote person.
Yeah, man. And it's interesting also to see the culmination of conversations and then trying to really distill them down to a single or like multiple ideas at any given time is wild to me. But I think there's so many favorite parts. I loved the interview, Hannah and Mike Martin's conversation, like that, just like as someone who works alongside a lot of people transmuting their pain, their sorrow, their joy into something else. That conversation totally blew me away. And then perhaps because it's the most recent on my mind and something that I've been up against and working with my entire life, but the conversation we had with Crystal Wren
Ooh,
about burnout and choosing your own path and being in an entrepreneurial state of being where you have to be so aggressively attuned to yourself and knowing what you need and the care that's going to restore you to do the work that you were put on this earth to do.
yes.
That one resonated with me heavy. And I just remember sitting there and editing it and being like, oh man, that was the conversation I needed to hear today.
Wow.
Right? I felt that way about so many of our guests. And it was so interesting, I think, what themes continued to pop up. Like those were not scripted, those were not planned. Like there are just recurring themes and characteristics that I am seeing in patterns increasingly across multiple spectrums, right? Like that Crystal came in from a totally non-religious background, like that was not a religious-based conversation, and yet as a person of faith I was like, I am hearing the spirit, right? And to your point, Stephanie, that attunement both with the world around us as well as with ourselves. Right, the Howard Thurman quote that I love is like, do not ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world
Mm-hmm.
needs is more people who have come alive, like
Mm-hmm.
to find your your path, right?
Mm. Mm.
Maybe to clamor it back from
Yeah.
whatever ills and evils, like maybe to walk it. Caminante son tus huelas, like
Mm.
wayfarer, your steps are the way.
Mm. I'm thinking as you say that about the all the threads between the conversations, all the connections and common themes. I'm thinking about a question that our guest Dora asked us as we were asking folks for questions for this episode. We had interviewed her within that last week and her sisters, which is just an incredible conversation. This sisterhood that is representative of three different faith traditions and Palestinian and Jewish heritage in the Holy Land. And she said, "What brought you to this place of deep solidarity and commitment to liberation for Palestinians?" And
Mm.
that's a much longer story, and we could do an entire episode about my experience of coming into that deep solidarity. And I want to name that the same truth of how I came into solidarity with the Palestinian people is true of each of these conversations and the kind of resonance that I've experienced with all of our guests, which is to say, it's all relational, right? Like there's when you enter in with an open heart and a desire to be changed in encounter with the other, with another person, that those experiences have changed me irrevocably. And
Mm.
so every one of the nearly 40 conversations that I have had over the last 2.5, almost 3 years of this podcast have had an indelible impact on my life. And I am so grateful for all the guests that have come onto the show. I'm so excited for all the people that we'll be in conversation with in the next season. And I'm also deeply enthusiastic about the ways that my relationship with both of you is going to continue to be a change catalyst for me,
Mm.
and also for all of the folks who listen. So I hope that for those listening today, that you will show up with us in season 5 with an open heart and a soft center to be able to receive the many gifts that are present here for you. And we want to hear from you. We are excited about being able to be in more regular conversation with our listeners, to have more listener questions that we can weave into the episodes that we will be recording in the coming months. So please continue to reach out to us on our Instagram and on Substack, because the listener engagement shapes the quality of the conversations that we can have, and the depth that we can achieve together, and the transformation that allows us to go out into the world as different people and as deeper people, more committed to the work of justice in the world. So that is it for me, but I want to see for the two of you, what are you looking forward to as we look forward to season 5?
Well, I have to quote Octavia Butler: all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. Like, what a gift. What an honor to be given the chance to affect the world around us and to stay soft enough to be affected. May we leave different people, right? May we dare to make a difference. That feels a little platitudey, and I don't mean it in that way, but like I take it so seriously. I'm looking forward to every bit of it, honestly. I'm looking forward to every flubbed question from my mouth and every um, subsequent recovery. I'm looking forward to every nugget of wisdom, every conversation that has yet to be had, maybe even for the first time in my life, right? Like, what a gift.
Ditto times 10 to what you both have said. I also, for me, on the outside, of course, rather on the flippity flop of the episode once it's recorded,
Love that.
I really am looking forward to people coming in and sharing their heart and sharing their experience. Like, that is the beauty of this platform and this media kind, is you can literally be doing what you're doing about your day and hear people's intimate stories and details just in your ears. And there's something that is unmatched about that. And I think so much of the time right now, the climate like is just a bunch of people deliberately or undeliberately like choosing to misunderstand one another. And so for this to be a space of deep listening and deep understanding with nuance and care and holding space for difficult conversations, like that is such a gift. And I'm really looking forward to editing more of that.
Awesome.
Well, till then, friends, we'll catch you on the flippity flop, Soulful Revolutionaries. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of A Soulful Revolution. You'll find links to follow our guests and the resources they shared in the show notes. As always, A Soulful Revolution is entirely made possible by listeners like you. If you like what you heard today, please consider becoming a paid subscriber on Substack or sending us an appreciative gift on Buy Me a Coffee. Your solidarity helps us to bring more conversations like this into the world, and we're grateful. Our theme music was created by Richard Ashe, Andy McGantz, and Ben Schreiber, with production by Richard Ashe for Plus Ultra Audio. A Soulful Revolution is produced by Stephanie Whitehouse of SPW Design Media. We'll see you next time, Soulful Revolutionaries.